One. Shalom, everyone, and welcome to Torah Tuesday. Okay, this week's Parsha is Vayishlach and Deceit, and we are going to be in Genesis 32:3 to 36:43. So as we go through tonight, please write down any questions or comments as we go through the portion. You should be looking for verses that you can apply to your daily life and help you transform into Yeshua. I would ask, though, as right now, take a few minutes and silence your phone. Make sure that's shut off or silenced so that we don't have any interruptions. And we're going to get ready for some prayer and praise time. So you guys can go ahead and get lined up for prayer and praise. And we'll go from there.
Shalom, how are you?
Shalom, how are you?
Good.
Good.
Yes, I have a couple of praises for our Father. One is Olivia and I, we had our meeting with the school for Mateo. We do like an art meeting, which is a meeting that we do annually to go over his IEP, which is individualized educational plan. It's for all special needs kids. They have that. So we met to review how he did over the year, and it was really good. I mean, he's made a whole lot of progress in his goals, and it was exciting to see his character traits as well, not just the academic, but how he was described by his teacher as being very, how do you say that? Like respectful, and also like he would open doors for people, especially old, like teachers and stuff like that, and friendly. And it cracked me up because she said that he always talks about Shabbat and talks about MTOI and talks about, feasts and all that stuff. And it's just embedded in him. Like he really likes to share that with teachers and, the speech pathologist. And it's just beautiful to see how much he absorbs, even though he a lot of time doesn't say much. Here, whenever he's comfortable in small groups, he will. But it's just beautiful how he's so happy about it, about the walk and about being here. And it's just awesome.
Awesome.
Yes.
Excellent. That's good.
Yes, that's really good. And the other thing is, so I reported, I think a few months ago, I'm part of a group that helps us therapists, entrepreneurs to grow our practice. And so one of the things that I've been doing is Google Ads. And it's a complete thing that I never ever thought I could actually do, but they put the whole system in place. And so this afternoon, I went in the call and I reported kind of my numbers. And I was sitting listening to other callers, right? And it's just amazing how much Abba has shown his favor to me, because I've only run my ads for a little bit of time, and I'm already seeing like a huge score in terms of like conversions and all these numbers that they measure, and I'm seeing it in the incoming calls, and I just praise him because I hear how much other people struggle, even though they've been doing this for longer, and they're trying to scratch their heads, trying to figure out, how do we do this? If this is not working, maybe we need to change this, change that, and I didn't have to go through any of it, but I know it's him blessing me.
Yes,
this is so
awesome,
beautiful.
Awesome. Yes. Excellent. Thank you.
It's all for him. Thank you.
Yes. Any other prayer praises? Shamash Steve.
I got one. Last time I was here, I had a cancellation. It was a pretty sizable job. But Abba answers prayers, because just yesterday I had like 10 people call off of just a simple post. It was kind of wild. And out of the 10 people I've contacted so far, I replaced almost all the work, because now I'm booked till middle of January.
Oh, wow. Excellent. Praise Abba. Any other praises or prayers? We good? Okay, got one more. Grayson.
I've got a praise. So I've had So like over the past couple of days since Shabbat, I had the schedule in mind that I wanted to implement in my life, and I quite haven't gotten there 100%. But every day, I'm taking a baby step and closer to getting to that goal, and it so far has been a tremendous blessing. Not only am I getting more time to just spend studying, but as well. I've been more disciplined in making sure that I get up early, and as a result of that, the numbers in terms of viewership that I've had just in the past 3 days has almost doubled, and I just think that it can't just be because I got on 2 hours earlier. There has to be more than that, and I think it's just because I'm putting forth the effort, and even though I'm not getting there 100% and I'm still failing more than I'd like to, I'm trying and I'm improving, and then because I know that if each day I get a little bit closer, then there's going to be one day when I'm doing everything exactly the way I want to. So.
Excellent. Praise Abba. Bob the Builder.
So last week, my 5-year-old was struggling. He was sick, I think from Monday or Tuesday. And it went all the way through, up through the weekend, and stuff kind of got better after Shabbat. And he's finally went back to school for the first time now today. So most likely he was exposed to probably some RSV, so that might have been what he was struggling with.
Excellent. Well, praise Abba. Any other praise or prayer? Okay, let's go to Brian on live stream.
All right, from Santee Lee. Pray for eye-opening intervention in meeting with a Chinese pastor, his wife, and a Chinese spiritual director next week, and pray for development of a Chinese Torah ministry. From Vaskin, continued prayers for rabbi and leadership, to my Marco Polo brothers and sisters, and those of us around the world with restrictive governments, and those of us wishing to immigrate to the United States. From Ruth Ann Soros, prayer request for my mom who had a lump removed from her back today. Pray for my meeting with prosecuting office Friday at 9 a.m. From Kayla Reich, prayer request for my energy levels. Coming into truth, praise that Father has drawn me back to MTOI. From Maria McClellan, prayers for my husband, has a toe infection. Melissa Kuntz, prayers for direction in the sale of my house. In probate, my mom has a cancerous tumor on her left lung and needs prayer. From Shelley Bell, prayers for my elderly neighbor. She fell and hurt her knee, and praise Yah for my eye infection healing and for natural remedies. From Rabbi Tom, he's asking for prayer. He's going to the VA in Nashville tomorrow. Also from Kayla Reich, prayers for my mom battling a virus. And from Carrie Ann Worthy, prayers for the Haraldson family that Abba will show them favor in getting their house and the kids settled in new schools, prayers for needs of the body and for leadership. And there's also several unspoken, and that's it.
Okay, well, thank you, Brian. We'll definitely keep those lifted up. And we've got one more. Excellent.
Sorry, I forgot. I wanted to also praise Father for my rabbi, because I got counsel from him about a situation, and I don't know how to express my gratitude for Rabbi, because it's me being in this walk, us being in this walk, our family for 4 years or 5 years, I don't remember how much now, but it doesn't matter. It's just a small amount of time compared to how much he knows, and I just love his righteous counseling. I've been, as you know, I've been trying to figure out when to go to Peru. And he basically just said, I wouldn't go during Christmas. I'm like, why didn't I think that? I want so much to have his mind, right? And of course, if I had his mind, I wouldn't even have crossed my mind. And I felt, wow, that's so, I didn't see that, but I'm so thankful that I have him, my rabbi, our rabbi, to be able to give us a righteous ruling that we need.
Yes.
To really do what we need to do and make the right decisions, and just a blessing. It's a tremendous blessing to have him. So
Awesome.
Thanks to Abba.
Awesome, definitely. Well, we can definitely keep that lifted up for sure. And we really should be thankful for all the leadership here, the work that Billy does, the work that Ravitz and Julie does, and Rabbi Tom, and just all the Rabitzins. I mean, so, it's incredible the work that's being done around here. So let's give them, yes, and the Father, yes. Yes. Okay, we'd also like to pray for those that have emailed or called through the week before this service as well. And can we get a volunteer for? Excellent, John.
Abba, Father, we're just so thankful that we could all gather here tonight to hear from you as we go through this Torah portion. And as we've heard all these requests and praises, we just lay them at your feet, and we know that you cause and allow. So we give it all to you in Yeshua's name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, sir. Okay, we're going to move on to our Torah readings, and we are going to need 9 readers. Okay, all right. Shamash Steve. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may bless Shamash Steve, who has come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless him and his family and send blessing and prosperity on all the works of his hands. Okay, you're going to start in Genesis 32:3 through 18.
And Yaakov sent a messenger before him to Esau his brother in the land of Seir in the field of Edom. And he commanded him, saying, say this to my master Esau, for your servant Yaakov said this, I have sojourned with Laban and have stayed there until now. I have bulls and donkeys, flocks, and male and female servants, and I have sent to inform my master to find favor in your eyes, so that the messenger returned to Yaakov, saying, we come in your brother to your brother Esau, and he also is coming to meet you, and 400 men with him. And Yaakov was greatly afraid and distressed, so he divided the people that were with him, and the flocks and herds and camels into 2 groups. And he said, if Esau comes to one group and strikes it, then the other group which is left shall escape. And Yaakov said to Elohim of my father Abraham and the Elohim of my father Yitzhak, Yahweh, who said to me, return to your land and your relatives, and I do good to you, did not deserve the least of all the loving commitment and all the truth which you have shown your servant. For I passed over this Jordan with my staff, and now I have become 2 groups. Deliver me, I pray, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he come and strike me and the mother with my children. And for you said to me, I shall certainly do good to you, and shall make your seed as the sands of the sea, which are too numerous to count. And he spent the night there, and he spent the night there and took what came to his head as a present for his Esau his brother. 13? 18, sorry. And 200 female goats, and 20 male goats, and 200 ewes, and 20 rams, 30 suckling camels, and their colts, 40 cows, and 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys, and 10 fowls. And he gave into his hand of his servant whoever drove by itself, and he said to his servant, pass over before me, and put some distance between drove and drove. And he commanded the first one, saying, when Esau my brother meets you and asks you, saying, to whom do you belong? Where are you going? And whose are these in front of you? Then you shall say, they are your servant Yaakov's, and it's a present to you, my master Esau, and see, he is also behind us.
Amen, amen. Thank you. Okay, Marlene. He who blessed our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may bless Marlene, who has come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless her and her household and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of her hands. Amen. Okay, you're going to take us from Genesis 32:19 to 32.
33?
Yeah, to the beginning.
Okay, I got you. 19. But he read 19, right?
To the end of the chapter, yeah, 32:19.
Okay. So he commanded the second and the third and all who followed the drove, saying, speak to Esau this same word when you find him. And you shall say, also look, your servant Yaakov is behind us. For he said, let me appease him with the present that goes before me, and after that see his face. He might accept me. And the present passed over before him. But he himself spent the night in the camp. And he rose up that night and took his 2 wives and his 2 female servants and his 11 sons and passed over the ford of Yabbok. And he took them and sent them over the stream and sent over what he had. And Yaakov was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the breaking of day. And when he saw that he did not overcome him, he touched the socket of his hip. And the socket of Yaakov's hip was dislocated as he wrestled with him. And he said, let me go, for the day breaks. But he said, I am not letting you go until you have blessed me. So he asked him, what is your name? And he said, Yaakov. And he said, your name is no longer called Yaakov, but Yisrael, because you have striven with Elohim and with men and have overcome. And Yaakov asked him, saying, please, let me know your name. And he said, why do you ask about my name? And he blessed him there. And Yaakov called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen Elohim face to face, and my life is preserved. And the sun rose on him as he passed over Penuel, and he limped on his hip. That is why the children of Israel to this day do not eat the sinew of the hip, which is on the socket of the thigh, because he touched the socket of the thigh of Yaakov in the sinew of the hip.
Amen. Thank you, Marlene. Okay, Ashley. He who blessed our fathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob may bless Ashley, who has come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless her and her household and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of her hands. Amen. Okay, you're going to take us from Genesis 32:19 to 32.
Thank you. Wait, huh? We just did that one.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, 33:1.
Okay. No, you're fine. And Yaakov lifted his eyes and looked and saw Esau coming, and with him 400 men. And he divided the children among Leah and Rachel and the 2 female servants. And he put the female servants and their children in front, and Leah and her children behind, and Rachel and Joseph last. And he himself passed over before them and bowed himself to the ground 7 times, until he came near to his brother. And Esau ran to meet him and embraced him and fell on his neck and kissed him, and they wept. And he lifted his eyes and saw the women and children, and he said, Who are these with you? And he said, the children with whom Elohim has favored your servant. Then the female servants came near, and they and their children, and bowed themselves. And Leah also came near, with her children, and they bowed themselves. And Joseph and Rachel came near, and they bowed themselves. Then Esau said, "What do you mean by all this company I am met?" And he said, "To find favor in the eyes of my master." But Esau said, "I have enough, my brother. Let what you have remain yours." And Yaakov said, "No, please. If I am now found favor in your eyes, then receive my present from my hand, because I have seen your face like seeing the face of Elohim, and you were pleased with me. Please take my blessing that is brought to you, because Elohim has favored me, and because I have all I need." And he urged him, and he took it. And he said, "Let us depart and go, and let me go before you." But he said to him, My master knows that the children are weak, and the flocks and the herds which are nursing are with me. And if the men should drive them hard one day, all the flock shall die. Please let my master go before his servant, and let me lead on slowly according to the pace of the livestock that go before me, and according to the pace of the children, until I come to my master in Seir. And Esau said, "Please let me leave with you some of the people who are with me." But he said, "Why this? Let me find favor in the eyes of my master." And Esau returned that day on his way to Seir. And Yaakov set out to Succoth, and built himself a house, and made booths for his livestock. That is why the name of the place is called Succoth. And Yaakov came safely to the city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan, when he came from Paddan Aram, and he pitched his tent before the city. And he bought the portions of the field where he had pitched his tent from the children of Hamor, Shechem's father, for 100 kesh. And he set up a slaughter place there, and he called it El Israel.
Amen. Thank you, Ashley. Okay, Oscar. He who blessed our fathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Oscar, who has come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless him and his family, and send blessing and prosperity on all the works of his hands. Amen. Okay, you're going to take us from Genesis 34:1 through 17.
And Dinah, the daughter of Leah, whom she had borne to Yaakov, went out to see the daughters of the land. And Shechem, son of Hamor, the Hivite, prince of the land, saw her, and took her, and lay with her, and humbled her. And his being clung to Dinah, the daughter of Yaakov, and he loved the girl, and spoke kindly to the girl. And Shechem spoke to his father Hamor, saying, "Take this girl for me for a wife." And Yaakov heard that he had defiled Dinah his daughter. Now his sons were with his livestock in the fields, so Yaakov kept silent until they came. And Hamor, the father of Shechem, went out to Yaakov to speak with him. And the sons of Yaakov came in from the field when they heard it. And the men were grieved and very wroth, because he had done a senseless deed in Israel by lying with Yaakov's daughter, which should not be done. But Hamor spoke with them, saying, "My son Shechem's being longs for your daughter. Please give her to him for a wife, and intermarry with us. Give us your daughters, and take our daughters for yourselves, and dwell with us, and let the land be before you. Dwell and move about in it, and have possessions in it." And Shechem said to his father and his brothers, "Let me find favor in your eyes, and whatever you say to me I give. Ask of me a bride price, and gift so high, and I give according to what you say to me. But give me the girl for a wife." But the sons of Yaakov answered Shechem and Hamor his father, and spoke with deceit, because he had defiled Dinah their sister. And they said to them, "We are not able to do this matter, to give our sister to one who is uncircumcised, for that would be a reproach to us. Only on this condition would we agree to you. If you become as we are, to have every male of you circumcised, then we shall give our daughters to you, and take your daughters to us, and we shall dwell with you, and shall become one people. But if you do not listen to us and be circumcised, we shall take our daughter and go.
Oh, man. Thank you, Oscar. Okay, Aaron. He who blessed our fathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may bless Aaron, who has come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless her and her family and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of her hands. Amen. And her family just grew, too. So awesome. Okay, you're going to take us from Genesis 34:18 through 31.
And their words pleased Hamor and Shechem, Hamor's son. And the young man did not delay to do this, because he delighted in Yaakov's daughter. Now he was more respected than all the household of his father. And Hamor and Shechem his son came to the gate of their city, and spoke with the men of their city, saying, These men are at peace with us, so let them dwell in the land and move about in it. And see, the land is large enough for them. Let us take their daughters for us for wives, and let us give them our daughters. Only on this condition would the men agree to dwell with us, to be one people. If every male among us is circumcised as they are circumcised, their herds and their possessions and all their beasts, should they not be ours? Only let us agree with them and let them dwell with us. And all who went out of the gate of his city listened to Hamor and Shechem his son. Every male was circumcised, all who went out of the gate of his city. And it came to be on the third day, when they were in pain, that two of the sons of Yaakov, Shimon and Levi, Dinah's brothers, each took his sword and came boldly upon the city and killed all the males. And they killed Hamor and Shechem his son with the edge of the sword, and took Dinah from Shechem's house, and went out. The sons of Yaakov came upon the slain and plundered the city, because they had defiled their sister. They took their flocks and their herds and their donkeys, and that which was in the city and that which was in the field, and all their wealth. And all their little ones and their wives they took captive, and they plundered all that was in the houses. And Yaakov said to Shimon and to Levi, You have troubled me by making me a stench among the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanites and the Perizzites. And I am few in number. They shall gather themselves against me and shall strike me, and I shall be destroyed, my household and I. But they said, Should he treat our sister like a whore?
Amen. Thank you, Aaron. Okay, Janet. He who blessed our fathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless Janet, who has come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless her and her family and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of her hands. Amen. Okay, you're going to take us from 35:1 through 15.
And Elohim said to Yaakov, Arise, go up to Bethel and dwell there, and make a slaughter place there to El, who appeared to you when you fled from the face of Esau your brother. And Yaakov said to his household and to all who were with him, Put away the foreign mighty ones that are among you, and cleanse yourselves and change your garments. And let us arise and go up to Bethel, and let me make there a slaughter place to El, who answered me in the day of my distress, and has been with me in the way which I have gone. So they gave Yaakov all the foreign mighty ones which were in their hands, and all their earrings which were in their ears. And Yaakov hid them under the terebinth tree which was near Shechem. And they departed, and the fear of Elohim was upon the cities that were all around them, and they did not pursue the sons of Yaakov. And Yaakov came to Luz, that is Bethel, which is in the land of Canaan, he and all the people who were with him. And he built there a slaughter place, and called the place El Beth El, because there Elohim appeared to him when he fled from the face of his brother. And Deborah, Ribkah's nurse, died, and she was buried below Bethel under the terebinth tree. So the name of it was called Alon Bakuth. And Elohim appeared to Yaakov again, when he came from Padam Aram, and blessed him. And Elohim said to him, Your name is Yaakov, your name is no longer called Yaakov, but Yisrael is your name. So he called his name Yisrael. And Elohim said to him, I am El Shaddai. Be fruitful and increase. A nation and a company of nations shall be from you, and sovereigns come from your body. And the land which I gave Abraham and Yishak, I give to you, and to your seed after you, I give this land. And Elohim went up from him in the place where he had spoken with him. And Yaakov set up a standing column in the place where he had spoken with him, a monument of stone. And he poured a drink offering on it, and he poured oil on it. And Yaakov called the name of the place where Elohim spoke with him, Beth El.
Amen. Thank you, Janet. Okay, Grayson. He who blessed our fathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob may bless Grayson, who has come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set apart one bless him and his family and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of his hands. Amen. Okay, you're going to take us from Genesis 35:16 through 29.
Then they set out from Bethel, and it came to be when there was but a little distance to go to Ephrath, that Rachel began to give birth and had great difficulty giving birth. And it came to be, as she was having great difficulty giving birth, that the midwife said to her, "Do not fear, for it is another son for you." And it came to be, as her life was going out, for she died, that she called his name Ben-Oni, but his father called him Benjamin. So Rachel died and was buried on the way to Ephrath, that is Bethlehem. And Yaakov set a standing column on her burial place, which is a monument of Rachel's burial place to this day. And Yisrael set out and pitched his tent and beyond the tower of Eder. And it came to be when Yisrael dwelt in the land that Reuben went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine. And Yisrael heard about it, and now the sons of Yaakov were 12. The sons of Leah were Reuben, Yaakov's firstborn, and Shimon, and Levi, Yehuda, and Issachar, and Zebulun. The sons of Rachel were Joseph and Benjamin. The sons of Bilhah, Rachel's female servant, were Dan and Naphtali. And the sons of Zilpah, Leah's female servant, were Gad and Asher. These were the sons of Yaakov, who were born to him in Padan Aram. And Yaakov came to his father Yitzhak at Mamre, or Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, where Abraham and Yitzhak had dwelt. And the days of Yitzhak were 180 years. So Yitzhak breathed his last and died, and was gathered to his people, aged and satisfied of days. And his sons Esau and Yaakov buried him.
Amen. Thank you, Grayson. Okay, Esther. He who blessed our father Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob may bless Esther, who has come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set apart one bless her and her family and bring blessing and prosperity in all the works of her hands. Amen. Okay, you're going to take us from Genesis 36, 1 through 22.
And this is the genealogy of Esau, who is Edom. Esau took his wives from the daughters of Canaan, Adah the daughter of Elon the Hittite, and Oholibamah the daughter of Anna, the daughter of Sebon the Hivite, and Basmath, Yishmael's daughter, sister of Nebaioth. And Adah bore Eliphaz to Esau, and Basmath bore Reuel. And Oholibamah bore Yeush, and Yalam, and Korah. These were the sons of Esau who were born to him in the land of Canaan. And Esau took his wives and his son and his daughters and all the beings of his household, and his herds and all his beasts, and all his possessions which he had gained in the land of Canaan, and went to the land away from the presence of his brother Yaakov. For their possessions were too great for them to dwell together, and the land of their sojournings could not support them because of their herds. So Esau dwelt on Mount Seir. Esau is Edom. And this is the genealogy of Esau, the father of the Edomites in Mount Seir. These were the names of Esau's sons: Eliphaz, son of Adah, wife of Esau, and Reuel, son of Basmath, wife of Esau. And the sons of Eliphaz were Timon, Omar, Sepho, Gottman, and Kenaz. And Timnah was the concubine of Eliphaz, Esau's son, and she bore Amalek to Eliphaz. These were the sons of Adah, Esau's wife. These were the sons of Reuel: Nahath and Zerah, Shammah and Misa. These were the sons of Basmath, Esau's wife. These were the sons of Oholibamah, Esau's wife, the daughter of Anna, the daughter of Sebon, and she bore to Esau Yeush, Yalam, and Korah. These were the chiefs of the sons of Esau, the sons of Eliphaz. The firstborn son of Esau was chief Timon, chief Omar, chief Sepho, and chief Kenaz, chief Korah, chief Gottman, chief Amalek. And these were the chiefs of Eliphaz in the land of Edom. They were the sons of Ada. And these were the sons of Reuel, Esau's sons. Chief Nahath, chief Zerah, chief Shammah, chief Mizah. These were the chiefs of Reuel in the land of Edom. These were the sons of Basemath, Esau's wife. And these were the sons of Aholibamah, Esau's wife. Chief Yeush, chief Yalam, chief Korah. These were the chiefs descending from Aholibamah, Esau's wife, the daughter of Anah. These were the sons of Esau who was in Edom, and these were their chiefs. These were their sons of Seir the Horite, who inhabited the land, Lotan and Shobal, and Sebon and Anah. And Dishon and Etzer and Dison, these were the chiefs of the Horites, the sons of Seir in the land of Edom. And the sons of Lotan were Hori, Hemam. Lotan's sister was Timnah.
A lot of names. Great job. Yes. Thank you, Esther. Amen. Okay, Chantel. He who blessed her fathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob may bless Chantel, who has come up to honor Yahweh in the Torah. May the set-apart one bless her and her household and send blessing and prosperity in all the works of her hands. Amen. Okay, you're going to finish this up with Genesis 36, 23 to 43.
And these were the sons of Shobal, Alwan and Manahath, and Ebal, Shepho, and Onam. And these were the sons of Sibon, both Aya and Anah. This was the Anah who found the water in the wilderness as he fed the donkeys of his father, Sibon. And these were the children of Anah, Dishon and Aholibamah, the daughter of Anah. And these were the sons of Dishon, Hemdan and Eshban and Yithran and Karan. These were the sons of Etzer, Bilhan and Zaawan and Akan. These were the sons of Dishan, Utz and Aran. These were the chiefs of the Horites, chief Lotan, chief Shobal, chief Sebon, chief Anah, chief Dishon, chief Etzer, and chief Dishan. These were the chiefs of the Horites, according to their chiefs in the land of Seir. And these were the sovereigns who reigned in the land of Edom before any sovereign reigned over the children of Israel. And Bela, the son of Beor, reigned in Edom. And the name of his city was Dinhaba. And Bela died, and Yobab, son of Zerah of Batsra, reigned in his place. And Johab died, and Husham of the land of the Temanites reigned in his place. And Husham died, and Hadad, son of Bedad, who struck Midian in the field of Moab, reigned in his place. And the name of his city was Awith. And Hadad died, and Samlah of Masrekah reigned in his place. And Samlah died, and Shaul of Rehoboth by the river reigned in his place. And Shaul died, and Baal-Hanan, son of Achbor, reigned in his place. And Baal-Hanan, son of Achbor, died, and Hadar reigned in his place. And the name of his city was Pau, and his wife's name was Mehetabel, the daughter of Matred, the daughter of Mezahab. And these were the names of the chiefs of Esau, according to their clans and their places by their names: Chief Timnah, Chief Alwa, Chief Yeheth, Chief Aholibamah, Chief Elah, Chief Pinon, Chief Kenez, Chief Teman, Chief Mibsar, Chief Magdiel, Chief Aram. These were the chiefs of Edom, according to their dwelling places in the land of their possessions. Esau was the father of the Edomites.
Amen. Yeah, give them all a round of applause. That was a lot of names. Okay, and now for the traditional blessings after the Torah reading. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natah b'tokenu. Baruch atah Yahweh noten haTorah. Amen. Blessed are you, Yahweh Elohim, King of the universe, who has given us the Torah of truth and has planted eternal life in our midst. Blessed are you, Yahweh, giver of the Torah. Amen. Okay. Okay, and now we get to the announcements portion of the evening. My favorite part. Yay. Okay. Let's see if we can get this time without a fumble. Okay, let's welcome our guests. As children of Abraham, let's give a big round of applause to our guests. We're just thankful they're here. We're to be children of hospitality. Excellent. And that's for both those here local and those again online. Okay, we live stream this Torah reading and Midrash on Tuesday at 6:30 every week on YouTube. On Shabbat, we start the live stream on YouTube at 1 p.m. and at 1:15 our service starts with the sounding of the shofar. And Rabbi Steve does an excellent job with that. Yes. Let's give him a round of applause. Excellent. Okay, and we do this every week, and the next one is on November 20th. That's this coming Shabbat. And then we have the Parsha Pearls. The Parsha Pearls is done by Ribbits and Julie and her team. Let's give them a round of applause. The website for Parsha Pearls is ymtoi.org. And, you know, the website for MTOI is mtoi.org. For Parsha Pearls, it's ymtoi.org. Young Messianic Torah Observant Israel is what that stands for. And that comprises the gem seekers and the pearl seekers. The gem seekers, that's the Katan Aleph, and it's ages 5 through 8. And the pearl seekers, that's Katan Bet Gadol, and that's ages 9 to 19, but really we say 99 because truthfully you can get something out of it. No matter who you are, where you are, and how long you've been in Torah, you can pull some nuggets out of the Parsha Pearls. So they really do a great job putting that together. Inside the Parsha Pearls is child-friendly stories, lesson questions, Hebrew word studies, memory verses, word searches, crossword puzzles, mazes, crafts, notebook pages, coloring pages, songs, and snacks. So there's really there's an abundance there. Go and check it out. It's free and downloadable from the website. You can print that off and use that. And again, there's no cost to that, so it's there for your individual needs. So, okay, and then the audio scripture readings by our own Shira Wendling. Yay! Okay, those, they go from Genesis to Revelations, and through the Torah, they are broke up into Parsha portions. This is free, again, on our website at mtoi.org, under Media, under Scripture Reading. So thank you again to Shira. Yes. Okay, and then something new that we're doing for the last couple of weeks, and we'll continue to do every Thursday at 1 p.m. It's Torah Time with Rabbi Tom. Yay! And it's for Gadol-age kids, 13 to 19. And if you don't have the link for that, then you can email it torahtime@mtoi.org. That's torahtime@mtoi.org. and you can get the link for that. And I think they said last week there was a lot of adults in there too asking questions, and really it's just a great time, and Rabbi Tom loves it and loves to answer those halakhic questions. So join in and bring the children especially, yeah, it'll be a great time. Okay, MTOI is an international ministry. We facilitate congregations in many countries. Because of this, we have zone meetings so that everyone around the world can ask questions via live stream and Zoom on their Shabbat based on their time zone. And the next one coming up is Zone 3, and that's a question and answer. That's November 19th. That's this coming Friday night at 10 p.m., which is the third Shabbat of the month. This again is so that it is still Shabbat where they're at, is the intent for Friday night at 10 p.m. It's in our Zoom room, and if you don't have that link, you can email to, what is that email? Zoom, yes, zoom@mtoi.org, thank you. Okay, and then Zone 1 meeting. Yay! We like Zone 1 meeting. It's a question and answer. The next one is on December 4th, and that's the first Shabbat of the month at 1:15 p.m., and it's at our normal Shabbat service using live stream on YouTube. So you should be able to find us there. If you've been tuning into the Shabbat services, it's just the regular Shabbat service, and it's the first Shabbat of the month for Zone 1 question and answer. I will add too, like Zone 1 is the United States, Canada, South America. It goes by zones, time zones around the world, broken up into 3. Zone 3 that we've already mentioned, that's Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Philippines, all those different places in Zone 3. And then the next one is the next one I'll go to is Zone 2 Shabbat question and answer, and that's December 11th. And that's the second Sabbath of the month at 10 a.m. Eastern Time on Shabbat morning, so that it is still Shabbat where they're at. And this, again, will be in the Zoom room. So Zone 2 and Zone 3 is in the Zoom room. You can get those links from zoom@mtoi.org, and then Zone 1 is on YouTube, and you can ask your questions on live stream. So if you have any other questions, just call Billy or Rabbi or Marlene now, and she'll be happy to answer those questions for you. So, okay, so yeah, again, the Zoom room link is zoom@mtoi.org. And for any of the questions that you have for the Zone 1, 2, and 3, you can send those questions in if you can't be there live. You can send them to questions@mtoi.org too, and then they'll do their best to answer those for you. So those meetings, I guess, they're about an hour and a half to 2 hours roughly, normally a couple hours. I think you guys said what, there was 104 we had in the room the other day? Awesome, excellent, great. Okay, and then our next announcement is Thanksgiving, yay, dinner and fellowship. Okay, and Thanksgiving, it's not required, but definitely we would love to see everyone that can come. But we understand if you've got family or you're going to be going away or whatever the case may be, we understand if you got to do that. But there will be a sign up for Thanksgiving. You'll sign up if your family's coming, how many are coming, and then there's some foods to choose from that you'll bring and share. I believe turkey and the main body of the Thanksgiving meal is being provided for, but all the fixings and all the desserts will bring as for whoever's coming. There will be a sign-up sheet. Ribbits and Julie will have that after the oneg and after sundown on Shabbat, where we can sign up for that. If you'd like to bring a guest, please be aware that the hope is that it's somebody that's interested in what we're doing here. But even if it's not, you can talk to leadership. And then they'll make that choice as to whether that's okay or not. So just talk to leadership. Okay, next one is Hanukkah. Excellent. And that's November 29th to December 6th is Hanukkah. And the first candle lighting is Sunday night, November 28th. So we look forward to that. Awesome, awesome. Okay, and then we have, on December 3rd, we have a Rev Shabbat service and dinner. And that will be at 6:30 p.m. So yeah, we look forward to that. I just think of all the different events on this list. There's so much going on all the time. It's busy, busy, busy. So it's awesome what leadership is putting together, and those that are volunteering and helping get things organized. So it's great. December 4th, we have Rosh Chodesh Tevet. And this is on Shabbat, so basically at sundown, it'll be after Oneg on Shabbat. After sundown at 7 p.m. is when we'll be doing the Rosh Chodesh Tevet service. So hopefully you can join in with us on that. And then December 12th is the next Leadership Council meetings. Yes, definitely clap for that. The first one is Sunday morning at 10 a.m. on December 12th, and it's the African meeting. And at noon is the full council. The purpose is how can we work together to serve the body on behalf of Yahweh? And I do encourage you to pray for those meetings. There's a lot of things discussed. I think last week we were in there for a good 4.5 hours. For the meeting. So it's a great time. It's a great time for, leadership around the world to get together and just really share the concerns or situations in the individual places around the world, and just what's going on with the body, and we can address those things and talk about them and hopefully have a plan going forward. So that's the intent behind it. And then our next one is Purim. It's on March 17th, and this is a Thursday night, and there'll be dinner and a Megillah reading at 6:30. So awesome. Okay, and then we have Pesach and Hag HaMatzot. Yes. April 15th, at sundown is the Passover meal. And this is a Friday night. So, definitely, hopefully you can join us for that. April 16th through the 22nd is Hag HaMatzot. The high days are Saturday, April 16th, and Friday, April 22nd. We will continue this celebration until Sunday, the 24th. Since it rolls into the weekly Shabbat. So for us, it'll start on the 15th, which is a Friday, with the Pesach meal, and that'll go through till April 24th, basically, which will be that Sunday, and that's when everybody will go home. So there was a couple things. The registration is online. You can download the form, print that off. You can fill that out, but we're still encouraging you to call in, because we want you to call in to register so Marlene stays nice and busy in the front office. So everybody get on that right away. And let's make a good show. I've been listening to Rabbi for years talk about how everybody waits till the last minute. Well, let's show him this year we can do something different. Let's get in there, get registered, make those plans and get this going. So that'd be awesome. Okay, I think we're done with the announcements. So let's get ready for our midrash. So anybody that has questions or comments about this week's Torah portion, hopefully you wrote them down, and we'll get lined up here. Brian will take care of the live stream, and Grayson's back there at the desk as well. And I'm sure the Shamishes are in the room too, so give them respect online. They're in the room to make sure we keep peace and keep focus and keep direction on the portions. So, okay, we're going to start with Ashley.
This is a question actually from Constantine. When we were going over the Parsha Pearls for homeschool, he asked a question I couldn't really answer. He asked, why did Yahweh break Yaakov's hip?
Why did he break his hip?
He would have came tonight, but he wanted mac and cheese more. So.
Well, the wrestling was really, it was a lack of emunah and bitachon, with Jacob. And it was just more of that, Yahweh was working Jacob out. He was molding him. He was shaping him. And he was wrestling with him because of the concerns that he had with Esau and going back into the land. And there was just a lot going on there. So it really wasn't breaking of his hip, but definitely got his attention. And he wanted to know his name, and he wouldn't let go until he found out his name. So hopefully that helps you out there.
Me? Oh, okay. So you wanted to go first next. Thank you. I just have a follow-up on that, what you said that he was wrestling. Because he did ask for his name, but then he replied, why do you ask about my name? And he blessed him. But he didn't give him his name. Did he give him his name?
Yeah, he really did, because what does Rabbi talk about the name? What's the name represent? Authority, right? He had the authority to give him the blessing and to see it through, so he did give him his name.
Okay. Yep. Thank you. I didn't see that. Thank you. So 32:7. So he was very afraid, right? After he heard that there were 400 men with him, Yaakov was very afraid and distressed. And then he kind of came up with his own plan on how to do that. But he actually it says that he prayed, didn't he? It says 11, deliver me, I pray, for the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he come and shall strike me and the mother with the children. Right? So in the middle of the distress and the fear, he prayed, or I don't know if it was in the middle, but at some point he did pray, and to Elohim, says Elohim of my father, all that. And then he went, he spent the night there, and then eventually he moved forward with the plan.
Yes, yeah. The two groups that he, broke up through his fear and his distress, he divided things into two groups. And this really is a foreshadowing or a picture, kind of a remez level. It's a hint of the two houses and the splitting of Israel and so on and so forth. So yeah, it's a beautiful picture through here of really what's going on. So
yeah, it's very, very nice. And then in 13, verse 13, he says that he took what came to his hand as a present for Esau, his brother. And so at some point, I don't remember where it is, but I think it's in the next chapter where he says that Elohim has blessed me. He's the one who has blessed me, and that's why I'm giving this to you, when he presented all this. So that I saw that was really, really good, that he could see that connection, that everything that he had came from him. And 26, he was wrestling, and you were saying before that he was wrestling because he didn't have emunah and betachon. Could it also be that he didn't want to let go because he wanted to be blessed?
Yes, he did want to be blessed, but it was that concern and that fear that he wasn't going to be. That he knew the promise was there and the blessing was there, but he really wanted this to become a reality. He wanted to see this, and this wrestling, part of this was internally with himself because of his fear and his distress, and so there's just a lot of different dynamics going on here. Yeah.
Yes, because with his forefathers, like with Yishak and Abraham, there wasn't any fear. I mean, at least not accounted. I don't remember reading about. Here, he was struggling a lot with being killed, right?
Yeah, Jacob was much more troubled than the other two patriarchs, for sure. Yeah, we can see that here. But part of it was because of the way it all went down that we learned last week, and the deceptions and so on. Actually, the week before. Well, anyways, the deceptions, that we went through, and how he received the blessing. And so I'm sure that concerned him as well, as he went through this, because now he's starting to go back into the land. He's going to go encounter his brother Esau, and the stress is really, mounting up. So.
And then I have one last question. 31:28, when it said, and
31 or 32?
Sorry, 32. Okay. My bad. 32:28, when he said, your name is no longer called Yaakov, but Israel, because you have striven with Elohim and with man and have overcome. So what was that part that he overcame? I have two questions about that. One is, what did he overcome? He overcame him?
He overcame his internal struggles. We look back in verse 10. I do not deserve the least of all the loving commitment and all the truth which you have shown your servant. For I passed over the Jordan, right? So he's crossing over, becoming a Hebrew, becoming Israel, with my staff, which the staff is another sign, it's an implication of authority again. And now I have become two groups. So you can start seeing that picture laid out. So when he gets over here, that's exactly what he's referring to. Let's see, we were in 28, was it? Yeah. Yeah, and he said, your name is no longer Yaakov, but Israel, because you have striven with Elohim and with men and have overcome. So, okay.
And there was a name change. That was my second part of the question. I've seen that when people become Jewish, when they turn into Judaism, that their name change. There's a name change. I don't know if that's coming from here, or is there anything that we need to know about that, or
I don't really know much about the name change. That would be a better question for Rabbi. I think. But, what we do see here is that, Abraham, his name changed. Yitzhak, it did not change. Yaakov, it did change. So, we can see some different, again, it was, Yitzhak really had the easiest run out of the three patriarchs. He really didn't face many challenges. There was a servant even sent to get his bride. He really didn't have to work for much or do much, in a sense, compared to what Abraham went through and what Yaakov went through, What's that? On the altar. Yes, yeah, he did go through, the binding and so on and so forth. So, and he did that without even wavering. So his life was just, quite a bit different maybe than the other two. But Abraham definitely, his was pretty solid. He was just obedient. He did what Yahweh asked of him. He didn't, get upset or banter, or there was, really no trickery or anything else. Yahweh came to him and just said, this is what you're going to do, and he did it, and so on and so forth. But hopefully, does that answer your question? Thank you, Janet. Tony.
Janet wiped out most of my questions. But so I did want to make this comment, though. Something I think I see here. We have, you mentioned it, Jacob's troubles, and I know that specifically shows up in Scripture later on, a reference to, times of Jacob's troubles or trials or whatever. And what you see here is definitely a great one of them, literally in Jacob's physical life. And as he is there, taking almost like a breather, he doesn't have someone come up nicely and sit down with him and pat him on the back and tell him it's all going to be okay. He's in a wrestling match. He's fighting. And sometimes I think when we get overwhelmed, when we're in our some of our greatest times, hardest times, sometimes it really helps to have someone come kick you in the butt.
Definitely. So. I would agree with that. Well, we have Rabbi Steve here for that. And Elder Billy, he's coming right up there second, so that works great. Left or right? Or both? Ben.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Verse 30, it says, and Yaakov called the name of the place Peniel, for I've seen Elohim face to face, and my life is preserved. So was this meaning more like figuratively? Because, I mean, so he sent somebody physically to Yaakov, like in 29, and that was referring to the authority, kind of like a rhetorical question, how he asked, why do you ask my name? So, what can you explain?
Face to face, you know, when you see panim el panim, it's really, it's more about the relationship, you know, than it is anything else. It sets a stage and a precedence that, you know, you're before each other, you're working together. You know, it's not always, it can be kind of a metaphorical term, you know, but it's still that close working relationship, that close proximity, that, you know, a close bond between the two of you. So when you see, now it can be in a confrontational manner too, but it can also be in a good relational manner as well. But that's what we see a lot with face-to-face. Does that answer your question?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. And one last thing.
Mm-hmm.
I like how in verse 8, or would it be correct to say that kind of foreshadows? In verse 8, it says, if Esau comes to the one group and strikes it, then the other group, which is left, shall escape. Is that kind of foreshadowing what happens in chapter 34, verse 30, about Shimon and Levi?
34 and 30. Yeah, there's not really a splitting here, right? And Yaakov said to Shimon and Levi, you have troubled me by making me a stench among the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanites and the Perizzites. And I am few in number. They shall gather themselves against me and shall strike me, and I shall be destroyed, my household and I. So there's not really a splitting. I mean, so I don't know if... Yeah, I mean, you know, it's all part of the same story, but definitely we're seeing different dynamics here, I think. So one is a splitting, and the other one is just saying, you know, what have you done to me? You know. Thank you.
Back to a point that Ashley's son had asked, with what your answer was that it was, can't remember what it was. He was having a hard time with it, believing, I think is what you had responded with.
Which verse were we in? I'm sorry.
With Constantine's question. That Ashley had said.
Yeah, can you repeat the question?
What? Yeah, why did he break his hip? Because
it was
go
ahead.
A trust issue.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with Yaakov wrestling, could that also be conveyed, like how we wrestle within ourselves, trying to overcome the certain things that we're fighting within ourselves, and then it also goes into where. He even struggled with, he wasn't sure if his brother was going to go after him, so he split the two groups, again, not showing the faith that Father Yahweh will protect him, you know, still wrestling a little bit. And then when his name was changed, when he was walking as Yaakov, he wrestled with self a lot. When his name was changed, he esteemed Father. Is that something that could...
Yeah, I mean, you know, with the hip, he was getting his attention. He was wrestling with him. He was struggling. Jacob wrestles, you know, all the way through. He wrestled with Esau. He wrestles with Laban. He wrestles with, you know, this man. He wrestles again with Esau. Although, you know, really he kind of just walks away from it at this point and doesn't really do. We kind of see things are settling down. That blessing is taking place. His name is changed, and then we start seeing a lot of different dynamics. But he's still dealing then with what his boys do and the stench that they've created for him, you know, in the area. So Jacob just wrestles all the time.
With him showing his sons that struggle with, I mean, we fight to overcome self, but it does trickle into our generations, that they tend to fight with the same struggles we have.
Yeah, and if we fight often enough and long enough, we definitely have some wounds that we carry along with us. So, it's a constant battle for sure. And that's why we have Rabbi Steve and Janet and Elder Billy to fix our wounds and help us heal and get us back on track. Amen. Shamish Steve.
Okay. It seemed like Yaakov was concerned with the wrath of his brother because of how he left the relationship earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
So
definitely.
to me, it shows us how we should not maybe burn bridges in regards to relationships, because just because we may part for a time doesn't mean a reunion may come about in the future. And if we leave on a sour note, then only time can grow the unresolved matters into an unhealthy resentment.
Yes.
So then maybe you could help or instruct us on how could we keep that unresolved resentment from restricting our thoughts and our walk with the Father and each other.
Yeah, and with each other especially. We have to be very careful not to burn bridges. There's a time and a place to burn a bridge. There's certain situations, where we have to remove ourselves from that, and we don't want to go back there. But many times relationships over time, time heals all wounds, that old phrase. There is some truth to that. It doesn't mean that it cures the wound. It doesn't mean that the scar isn't there. It doesn't mean a lot of different things. But sometimes burning that bridge, you're really limiting the potential for something later on, and Abba works through those, and Abba sometimes brings us back around into those relationships depending on what it is. So we do have to be careful about burning bridges. I agree. It's a dangerous place. You should try to avoid it, but again, there's a place and a time that it's definitely necessary, but we should try to avoid it, every time we can. So. Okay,
and then 32:9, it seemed like, I know you talked about a little bit, but I have a little different twist on the question. It seemed he had a concern with the questions Abba had given him to return. So my question is it okay to ask questions when we lack faith and instruction given, and is there a proper way to do that?
Well, yeah, here Yaakov in verse 9 is, he said, "Oh, Elohim of my father Abraham and Elohim of my father Yitzhak, Yahweh who said to me, return to your land and to your relatives." So he's basically, bringing up the promises that Yahweh had given him already and the things that were supposed to take place. And he's kind of reminding him, because his concern as he enters into this danger of encountering Esau again, he's got a lot of fear and a lot of distress going on. So he's really just kind of restating what already should be, apparent and obvious, that Yahweh was going to do this, because, the promise is already there. The words have already been spoken. But, definitely Yaakov here is concerned with that. So.
Okay, and then on 32:25, or 25, it said how he wrestled with the man till dawn but didn't overcome him. So maybe this could teach us how, if we have the resolve and don't quit, stay the course, trust the process, that we could still get the blessing. Because didn't he wrestle him because he wanted the blessing from the guy? Right?
Yeah.
So he didn't give up.
That's right. He didn't give up, right? Trust the process, right, Elder Billy? Trust the process. I'm going to bring him into this whether he wants to or not, so. Okay, yeah, no, very good, Steve. That's very true. We need to trust the process, and we need to trust the promises that are spoken, and not second guess those things. When Abba says he's going to do something, he's going to do it. Yeah, amen.
Thank you. Hello, Mr. Bidwell.
Shalom, sir.
Shalom. I wanted to touch too, on this whole hip thing. he says in 26 about let me go. Yaakov didn't want to let go. It makes me think of how painful it is to walk on a dislocated hip, how much that would affect your walk. And I understand that part of our walk, when it talks about our legs, our feet in Scripture, it speaks of our walk. Like our hands is our works. And sometimes if we don't let go of something, how it can affect our walk, whether good or bad. I mean, we can hold on to something, hold on to Him, clean, cleave, and hold fast.
Yes,
and
amen.
it can, bless us. Or we can hold on to something that can really hurt us in our walk if we don't let go either. And it just kind of made me think about all that.
Yeah, definitely. No, I agree. We got to hang on tight and stay, walking this out with Abba. We're going to see, Yaakov later on, it says that he comes in basically like complete or whole or shalom. So here he takes off with a limp and he's struggling. But later on, that healing is going to occur because the sages talk about how he come into the area whole and complete, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, we're going to see that, so that the healing is happening right now as we speak. This wrestling match, the hip socket, all these things, encountering Esau, this is all growing and molding and just changing Yaakov into Israel, right? So, and it's setting precedents for the tribes and Israel as a nation and so on and so forth. So there's so much going on here. There's so many pictures we can pull from this. So, thank you.
I just thought of one of those pictures possibly. So he had just talked about two, he had two bands, and perhaps even a foreshadowing of the splitting. Mm-hmm. And here he is, his hip has been dislocated, just like the nation of Israel, the two dislocated from each other, quite literally, mm-hmm. put in different locations. But that didn't stop him. He continued his walk. And then, as you said later, it becomes healed, and the whole premise is that he doesn't let go. And I think, I don't know, maybe that's a great foreshadowing or a great little, quick glimpse snippet of what we as displaced, dislocated Israel need to continue doing, just holding on,
yes,
and moving forward. And
Amen.
One day we will be complete.
Amen. Amen. Excellent. Okay, we'll jump to live stream right quick. Brian?
All right, from Isabel, chapter 32, verse 32, does this apply today regarding not eating the sinew of the hip?
I talked to a rabbi about that last week. He said tradition, not Torah. So I'm going to leave it at that. A lot of these traditions and fences and things that the sages and the Talmudic writers put in place, there's good principle behind them. Take them for it's a personal decision. It's a personal walk. It's a personal journey when it comes to the traditions and the fences. Is there a lot of good in them? Yeah, there is. But also they can kind of steer you off track too if you aren't careful and you aren't walking out the Torah and know the Torah and living out the Torah. So you need to be really careful. But the answer to this question is, Rabbi's words was tradition, not Torah. So I'm going to leave it at that.
All right, last one for 32 from Anna Kaufman. Do you have any insight as to why Yaakov had to wrestle and had the name changed before meeting Esau?
Well, I think it was that preparation. Esau was really struggling. He knew what he was about to encounter. He had a lot of concern, a lot of stress. And, he was searching for that blessing, and Abba knew that, so he came to him, and he was preparing him for the encounter that he was about to face. And look at the way that it turned out. There was no war, there was no battle. Even though Esau was coming with 400 men, we're going to soon see, there was just not that confrontation. In fact, it was really just the opposite in many ways. So it was a preparation of, Jacob's state of mind and where his heart was at, his fears and concerns, and Abba was reassuring him. So we should be happy because, as sometimes things come up in our lives, we can be concerned and distressed, and Abba comes to us to prepare us in advance of the actual situation that we're going to encounter. And, he's good about that. He prepares our hearts in advance for the things that we're going to encounter. The question is, are we going to focus on those, write those deep within our hearts and walk those out in our journey, or are we just going to turn to fear and let fear rule us and, become weak? So, sound good? Okay.
That is all for 32.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Any other questions on 32? No? I got to adjust this mic. This thing is driving me crazy. So forgive me, guys. I might make a little noise here, but something is not working right. Okay, we're going to jump into 33 and see what we have. Abba has in store for us here. So.
This is such a beautiful parsha. There's so much in here.
Oh, it is. It's gorgeous.
I'm learning so much today, like every Tuesday. So 33, sorry, you said 33, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So 33:2, I don't know, it made me think when Yaakov put the female servants first, and then he put Leah and her children behind, and then Rachel and Joseph last, right? So I'm almost like he was willing to lose the servants first, and then Leah, and then at the end, Rachel. And I was thinking about that, how in our lives sometimes I can be willing to lose whatever is not important to me, right? But whatever is important, sometimes we tend to hold it. And maybe we need to really let go, because at the end, everything is from him.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it's hard when it comes to people like this, but kind of like what Rabbi was talking about on Shabbat, right? With laying down your life, and he was pretty clear on that. So I think, part of that we see here, Yaakov had, a situation, those that he felt was closest, and then so on and so forth, and moving on out, and sometimes that's a tough thing to take, but it's just a reality of life, and it's a reality of us, and the way we think and operate. So, and I think that's what we see Yaakov doing here, is just preparing that situation where it kind of doing, just setting it up so that there's going to be less damage to what's most important. Whether we like that or not, that's the way it is, so.
Okay, thank you. And then 33:3, then he bows himself 7 times before his brother. And 7 times, I guess, is the number of completion. 7 times.
Yeah, the number shows many different things, but I kind of like Rabbi's comment last week when we were discussing it, is that he wanted to make sure that Esau see him. So, he kept bowing and bowing. It's like, do you see me? But 7 times, yeah, definitely the number 7 has, importance, and so we can see a couple different pictures here. But the idea is for sure, I agree with Rabbi that he did not want Esau to miss the fact that he was being humble before him, and he was coming as a servant, is the way that he words it himself. So.
And it's so beautiful how Esau responds to that. I mean, obviously Abba was with Yaakov, right? And he did give him favor in that situation, but it says here that he ran to meet him and embraced him and fell on his neck and kissed him, and then they wept. And so you see how the beautiful picture of forgiveness and reconciliation, which is what we see later on with Joseph and his brothers, right? When they were in such a strife, but then they were able to forgive. And
Yeah.
so important to know that that is possible, right? We can forgive whatever is going on, whoever does anything to us, right?
Yeah, you read some of the writings, and I'll bounce to it. If I say too much about some of the sages or the older writings, Rabbi will correct me. But the Hebrew word there, Vayishlach, the sages say had extra dots over the top of it in the Hebrew, and so there's an implication that something is a little bit different there. Now there's those that have kind of ran to, we've heard the story, Esau was coming and he was going to bite him on the neck, right? Well, and then we have Rashi saying, it's interesting too, because Rashi says that, let's see, his quote was, I say this, he says with all his heart, he came and he was kissing him with all his heart. And, I agree much more, I side more with Rashi in this concept, because we see that, and then they wept. If he was that angry and ready to, take a hunk out of Jacob, I don't think he would be immediately weeping just seconds later, So I think Rashi was correct. He came and, he was it was with all his heart. There was so much emotion there. Let's look at what's going on. Obviously, their father is, nearing death. He's there's a lot of emotion going on. The parents, everything, the death. We're going to see Rachel here soon even, but there's just a lot of dynamics going on. There's a lot of emotion. Jacob's having a really tough time even coming back. Look at all the struggle he went through in chapter 32, just getting to this point. And I'm sure Esau's had a lot of regrets, a lot of time to think. A lot of people say Esau, is still coming after him with vengeance and, There's a lot of different accounts. But what I see here is a time of emotion and a long, 20 years apart. You've been angry at a sibling, right? Or a mother or a father or whatever. After 20 years, things start to change. That anger's long gone, and that the absence in your heart is really there. And so I think we can see some of that, at least. Maybe that didn't stay. Maybe that was not Esau's original intent. Maybe later on it might even change back. But just the sight, maybe it was the bowing of the 7 times. He's like, wow, if he's going to bow 7 times, I'm going to kiss him. I don't know. But either way, we see here a different dynamic, because here they are weeping and so on and so forth, and they're going to be burying their father together soon, so there's still a relationship. And then, we're going to see Esau moving out of the area, I'll jump ahead a little bit, but moving out of the area because the animals were just too much for that region. So there's a certain amount of respect and at least some relationship there that you can still see between the brothers. Now, there still might be a lot of hostility too, but I think we can all attest to that, because we have family that we love them dearly, but then there's still, things that kind of wind us up. So,
absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yes.
I love how his heart, right? Yaakov's heart, when he says, when Esau asking, "Who are these?" and he says, "The children with whom Elohim has favored your servants." And 33. Then I think it's 33:8.
Before we jump on that favor there too, is the Hebrew word chen. So it's that merited favor that we're seeing. And we're going to see that a lot through these next verses that we go through. So when you see that favor, it's merited favor, that we're looking at. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the other one that I wanted to quote. Verse 10, it says again, Yaakov insists and says, "No, please, if I have found now favor in your eyes, then receive my present from my hand, because I have seen your face like seeing the face of Elohim, and you were pleased with me." And that took a lot of preparation, like you said, right? It took a lot of effort from him to get to that place and for Elohim to favor him in that. And 11, it says, "Please take my blessing that is brought to you," because Elohim continues giving all the glory and the credit to him, right? Because Elohim has favored me and because I have all I need. And he urged him and he took it. And Rabbi always says that we should allow other people, if they want to bless us, to let them do that, right? And he was doing that. He was trying to earn his favor back with the presents and all that.
Yeah.
And I think that was very humble for him.
It was, definitely. And yeah, you could see Esau, he refused it once and then he accepted it. And rabbis talk to us a lot about that when somebody wants to bless us or give us something or buy us a meal or whatever the situation might be, that a lot of times he'll kind of, put it back on them the first time. He doesn't just accept it outwardly. But if they come at you a second time, they really want to do that. Give them that opportunity. And Esau didn't need the animals. He didn't need the situation. And that's what he said. I've got plenty. No, I'm good. And but after he kept coming back to him, he's just like, okay, fine, I'll accept it. Yeah, excellent. Thank you.
Okay. In 33, I kind of noticed that Yaakov placed them in the order which I believe he had greater love because he put Rachel last. So my question, I guess, we could think about is, I'm sure any mother would put herself before their child and the husband maybe before his wife, but if we reverse that, are we willing to put the father before anybody else in our lives, or is he the one we put last?
Yes.
Because we don't need to protect him.
Yep, I agree totally, Steve.
So, and then 33:9, I guess you kind of covered that seemed like favor or grace, for lack of a better word, is given by what we do, not because we deserve it.
Right. Well, it's earning, it's walking it out. There's something that we need to give in return. There's something that we need to do. He does plenty for us, and he just asks a little bit of us. And so that's the least that we can do, and we should be walking that out. So, yeah, thank you.
Okay, in 33:11, it seems that Yaakov blessed his brother because Abba had blessed him. So is it best or wrong to bless others only after Abba blesses you? Or if possible, you can bless others, but we shouldn't bless others looking for a blessing in return?
I think it's good to be blessing others before we get blessed. Granted, it will probably be reciprocal and we'll receive it back in return, and that's great. But we should be willing to put ourselves out there for others, not just after they've done something for you, but before they've done something for you. We should try to establish that relationship from the get-go. So, yep. And that goes with with Elohim too, with Abba. Like I say, he's made many promises to us. He's given us this wonderful Torah and all his writings and all the promises, and he gives us everything that we need in life, and he just asks for a little simple obedience from us, and that's the least we can do. Amen. Okay, Brian, live stream.
No questions for 33.
No questions for 33. Okay, any other questions in here? Okay, let's move on to 34.
No, I'm not.
Everybody wants to talk about Dina, that's what it is. Everybody's waiting.
No, I was going to say something about Dina in 34:1 when it says, that she went out to see the daughters of the land. So it just made me think about, I have a daughter too, right? And so how we are, as parents, especially my husband, the father, right, is there to protect, right, our children and make sure that they're not in situations where they can be taken advantage, or what happened with her, she was defiled, but she was out there too, you know what I mean, so it was a situation where she was taken, but she was where she was not supposed to be. But I'm thinking about also the covering. Can you expand a bit of that?
Yeah, with Dina, you're saying that she was defiled. Really her brothers say that she was defiled.
It says in there that, but I don't. It was, the brother says that, but he says that the Shechem, whatever his name is, Shechem, right?
Right.
That he humbled her. I don't know, humble her, what is that?
Well, he humbled her, but look, she actually stayed in his house. There was love between them. I don't think we can say that he was doing this against her will or anything else. As we read down through here, and Shechem, son of Hamor, the Hivite, prince of the land, saw her and took her and lay with her and humbled her. And this being clung to Dinah, the daughter of Yaakov, and he loved the girl and spoke kindly to the girl. And Shechem spoke to his father, saying, take this girl for me for a wife. This wasn't some sort of, cruel situation or unrighteous situation. She had gone out to observe the ladies of the land, and obviously she was enamored and he was enamored, and because then she stays, they take her literally, when all this comes to a head, from his house. During all this, she could have easily left. She could have been coming out kicking and screaming and running for home, but she didn't. So okay.
Yes, absolutely. But then they took it, I don't know if they just, because they knew that he wasn't an Israelite, the brothers, right? They were grieved, they were wroth, they really were angry, and they were the ones who replied to Shechem and his father when they came to talk to Yaakov. In verse 13, it says, but the sons of Yaakov answered Shechem and Hamor, his father, and spoke with deceit. So do you have any insights about that, when Yaakov is not the one responding to their request?
Well, Yaakov, let's see here. But the sons of Yaakov answered Shechem and Hamor, his father, and spoke with deceit because he had defiled Dinah, their sister. I think they were taking matters into their own hand. Let's back up here, and we'll just touch a little bit more of the story. But Hamor spoke with him, saying, my son Shechem's... Actually, let's back up. I just want to make sure we have the characters right and who's talking to who. And the sons of Yaakov come in from the field when they heard it, and the men were grieved and very wroth because he had done a senseless deed in Israel by lying with Yaakov's daughter, which should not be done. But Hamor spoke with them, saying, so this is a conversation going on between them. So, whether Yaakov was right there at this very moment or what the situation was, but these boys are having a conversation with Hamor concerning Dinah and Shechem and the things that had gone on.
And then I was thinking about verse 12, right? When they actually asked the sons or Yaakov, whoever they were talking to, say, ask of me a bride price and gift ever so high, and I give according to what you say to me, but give me the girl for a wife. And I was thinking about, even though it was, I think we can apply it to even ourselves, but we need to be careful on what we, promise or we agreed, whatever agreement we get into, because that we can get in big trouble, right, if we're agreeing on something like they did. Even though they had their final intent was really to get their land, to take all of what they had, because that's what it says there at some point. But obviously they didn't get it, but they were put in a position where they were able to take advantage of, and they didn't think of that, of course. So I think it's important to, whenever we're facing a situation that we need to make a decision, we need to make an agreement, we need maybe even a big purchase, whatever it is, we really need to be careful on what we agreed on and seek counsel if we're not sure.
Excellent. And Yaakov in this situation, later on he's going to get upset at his boys and say, what have you done to me? But again, he should have been the one here, discussing all this. And if he was standing right there, listening to every word, he allowed it to happen. So we need to be careful what we allow our children to speak and the things to go on, or husbands with wives and so on and so forth. We see this principle in Torah that, there's a time and a place where we have to step in and maybe get rid of a statement, as Torah says, or, but make sure that things are appropriate, moving in the right direction. And Yaakov definitely should have done this, again, it's another one of those learning lessons that we go through, and Yaakov's going through a lot of them.
And even in 14, when they say, we are not able to do this matter, to give our sister to one who is uncircumcised, so I don't know if maybe I'm naive, I want to believe that that's really what they want. They were really pissed because she was going with somebody who was uncircumcised. But the right way to handle this, like, I remember Rabbi sometimes he says, you should go back to a situation. If you didn't handle well, imagine changing it and in your head and then visualizing an outcome, the outcome that you wanted. So if we were to do that here, right, what would have been the best way? Basically, they should have just said, no, we're not going to take your offer or whatever, and we're not giving you our sister without doing what they did. Is that
right? Well, they really were devising a plan here. The circumcision was not because that's what they felt needed to be done in order to make it right. They were wroth, they were angry, they were ticked off, they were going to do whatever it took, to take care of Shechem and Hamor and this whole situation. So it was a plan all along, yeah, because, what do? They wait till day 3, right? And we're going to see that here in a minute, and so it was a plan from the beginning. It wasn't because they really desired for this nation to become circumcised and walk out Torah and come into covenant and so on and so forth. They used it, they were using it as a manipulation tool to get an upper hand in the situation, to take out what they were perceiving as the enemy at that point.
I just had something off of Janet. I want to jump in front of there, Tony, because Janet talked about protecting our children, but I realize that sometimes our best intentions are what we see as safe for our children. Those intentions and what we would like them to pursue isn't welcomed by the children. So how do we, as they grow, how do we deal with that, I guess, within ourselves, to just have to let them go and let them fall and be able to be there when they need somebody to pick them up?
Yes, yeah. Well, ultimately, there is only so much we can do. We can try and try and try, but they're still going to do what they're going to do. And sometimes tough love is where it's at. And just plan on lots of counseling in order to deal with these teenagers from Rabbi Billy, Elder Billy. No, it's tough. It's tough raising children today. It's terrible. I mean, it really is, because with all the modern we talked about this last week too, but with all the social media, all of the influence, everything at our hands, we can access the entire world from a closet in our bedroom, and it's so easy to hide it. It's so easy to sneak it. All the influences are terrible. So it's going to be a battle. It really is. It's not going to be easy. And then if you protect them from it, then they're never exposed to it, and you hide them in closets, for lack of a better term. But you keep them out of all of that. Then at some point when they are of age, then they're all of a sudden they're inundated with it, and they don't know how to deal with it, and they don't know what to do. So there's just, I think Tony can attest to that, just because I know where he's from and, and his background and so on and so forth. And when you're protected to the point, you think of, the farm life, and I'll just use that as an example, but when you're on the farm, it's work, work, work. You don't get exposed to a lot. You don't get to go out on Friday and Saturday nights. There's work to do, the next morning and the next morning and the next day and the next evening, and it never stops and it never stops, and mom and dad need all your help, and so there's never any time to be exposed to those things. So then when you're released, right, then it's a rude awakening. You join the military, you take off, you see the world, and you're like overwhelmed, and it's like, oh my goodness, what do I do with all this? So it's the same way with social media and all the garbage that the kids encounter today. We protect them from it, and it's just going to ultimately come back to get them. Sooner or later, they have to have the ability to say no, and I'm not going to do this, and it just takes time, and that's that tough love that Shamash Steve is talking about.
Yeah, all of this pretty much took most of the wind out of the sail of I guess, comment or question I had, but I can definitely say, and Dinah, the daughter, ... went out to see the daughters of the land. And I know, for my own life, I mean, no, I wasn't raised perfectly. I wasn't raised in Torah, but some of my worst times were when I, as you said, had the opportunity, and I said, okay, well, let me go hang out and get to know these guys, and we're not that far apart. That was some of the worst times. But I guess a comment, thought, maybe I'm wrong. Here, in dealing with children, see the note I took, verse 8 to 10, I labeled it the problem with upholding a wayward child. And so you see here, or at least what I'm seeing, is at 8, you have Hamor, and he's using the situation, and he wants to reach out into Jacob, into his entire life, and he wants to bring through Dinah going and really stepping out from under her covering, and now she's exposed, that can even come back, and that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get a hook all the way in to the father, of the household. And I mean, looking at this entire chapter, there's a lot of things that were done wrong here, and I kept asking myself, okay, what's something if in a similar situation, what could I do that's right? And all the more I've had this conversation with people, and they've been like, oh my goodness, but it's Fiddler on the Roof, when was it his youngest daughter went too far, he cut her off, no longer associated. And I think, like, how hard would that be? But on the other hand, if my son, who I intend to inherit everything, at some point shows that he's not going to walk this out, if I just say, oh, okay, fine, but you're still going to inherit everything, I mean, that's going to destroy everything I'm building, everything I'm trying to. So there has to be that strength there, which there wasn't here, to have some sort of a ability to cut it off and say, you've got to go deal with that, and it can't be involved. I can't be involved.
Yeah, you can't keep feeding the problem or the situation or the disobedience or whatever the child is going through. There has to be a certain point. And yeah, it was a great example. The fences were there and the protection was up, but with a couple of the daughters, that could be allowed, and we could go ahead and take down this fence and let them go out into the next pasture, and everything's okay. But then there's a certain point at which we have to be ready to draw that line and let that tough love kick in.
Well, I kind of had a little comment question about that also, about how it states here in 5 how Yaakov heard that they had defiled his daughter. Does this take us anywhere back here to the previous, as like 2 portions ago in 28, where Abraham told Yitzhak, and Yitzhak has also told Yaakov, do not take the daughters of Canaan as wives. So maybe I know at one point, I believe, and I don't know if it's before or hereafter, where we're not to take their wives, and they're not to marry their daughters to their sons. But I was wondering if maybe that was something that, obviously they weren't covenanted either, because they weren't circumcised. But if that was something that he just automatically made an assumption immediately because they were from Canaan, and sure, they weren't supposed to even take the wives of Canaan. It's just kind of something I thought about.
Yeah, I'm sure. We see Esau, every time he wanted to get it back at his father, what did he do? He went and married a wife from a foreigner, and that was not what Abba's intent was in this situation, but it's about culture and place and time, and we can't even begin to understand, the dynamic here of really what's going on in their place and their time. It's like Tony mentioning, Fiddler on the Roof. Again, that was a place and a time and a culture and a situation that is still even today, and we're very close to that. It's very hard to even understand that concept. And traditions, are broke all the time. A lot of traditions don't even exist anymore. And it's not that tradition we have to have hard and fast and firm, but we need to have that within our household. This is the way we operate. This is the way we do things. Or in our community, and really that's what Rabbi and Elder Billy are really, trying to establish for us is, some of those traditions and protection and fences and formats, that we can live and function within as a community and be healthy and encouraging of each other, not destructive towards each other. So, amen.
All right. Since everybody talked about the girl, we'll skip that. But in 34:13, it says, if I'm misunderstanding, it says how the son of Yaakov spoke with deceit. So they spoke like they were going to try to, is it because they were planning something evil against the guy, or they answered him politely but had deceitful plans behind their face?
Well, they were speaking with deceit because they were basically giving them a false impression that if you circumcise all of your men, everything's going to be okay and we'll join in with you. So that was the deceit that was going on here. They were definitely speaking in deceit.
Okay.
If you look at the sages, Levi at this time is believed to be about 13 years old. Now, I can't say for sure that's what it was, but that's just, what, some of the extra books, speak of. So think about a 13-year-old and what he's going through at this place and time. In fact, they say that's where, I'm going to draw a blank. Well, I'll get back to that. But he was 13 at a very young age, and we see in the Jewish community, 13 for a bar mitzvah. This is a lot of where this is starting from and coming from, that tradition being established that then goes on at later times. Now, whether he is or not, I'm not going to sit here and tell you. I don't know. There's no way for me to tell, but I can just tell you from the things that I've read, that's the impression that I was left with, is that they believed he was about 13. Very young for the situation that he's in here.
All right, so then to me, I would ask us that how many times do we speak with deceit when we're dealing with somebody who hurt us or somebody we love? So that's something we should guard ourselves against doing and promoting unhealthy things going on in the community.
Yeah, in our language, just in the English language, I used to work a little bit with another rabbi, and he always talked about the Hebrew language and how it was fascinating because you can lie in the Hebrew, but it's very hard to lie. Not like the English language where there's so many words and so many ways you can go at something and manipulate something and twist something. So we'll have to ask Rabbi about that sometime to see his thoughts on that. But, today, there's so many ways to deceive an individual, to be deceitful and manipulate the situation, to twist it to, in our favor. So, yeah, you're very correct, Steve. Okay, let's jump the live stream for a few, and then we'll come back. Nothing on live stream. Wow, it's a quiet night. Either we answered everything, or they're just tired of us, don't want to talk to us.
I think Grayson looks really mean on camera, so he scared him off.
Grayson, what kind of ornery things are you putting on there? Okay, any other questions for 34? Let me think. Okay, let's go on to 35 and see what we got in 35.
Okay. It says on 35:2, put away the foreign mighty ones that are among you and cleanse yourself and even change your garments. So I just kind of had a comment. It seems a lot of us focus on only what others see And what is hidden, the cleansing of ourselves, is the thing that a lot of us hesitate to even address.
Okay. And so these mighty ones that they're talking about, where do these come from? The mighty ones. Rabbi talked about, during their journey, a lot of these could have been picked up. We also see, up in verse 29 at the end of 34, and all their wealth and all their little ones and their wives they took captive, and they plundered all that was in the houses. And these are the houses of Shechem, and Hamor. So they plundered all these mighty ones, and now here they are discussing these foreign mighty ones, and Yaakov's telling them to put them away, get rid of them. We got to cleanse ourselves because we're going to Bethel, right?
And I thought about how when we come on Shabbat to our congregation, how we also need to do that process of cleansing. And even before approaching Abba, I think we need to, and I don't, but I can't speak only for myself, but it's so important, right, to cleanse ourselves, change our garment. Rabbi always talks about how we should be dressed appropriately for Shabbat to meet our King, but also getting rid of all the foreign mighty ones, which for me is like whatever I put, or I think what I understand from what Rabbi teaches is whatever I put before him, or whatever even I call, that is, I give his name into that, but maybe it's not. And that verse really spoke to me. The other verse that spoke to me was 5, when it says the fear, and it says they departed, right? And the fear of Elohim was upon the cities that were all around them, and they did not pursue the sons of Yaakov. And again, we see how the reputation that we were talking about Yitzchak and before, and Abraham, Yaakov also carried that name from Yahweh, and the fear of the nations were there because they knew that the El was with him, right?
Yeah, they had just witnessed, everything that had happened up until this point. Even the situation with Esau, and coming into the land, I'm sure they were very well aware of it, all these nations. And then the situation with Dinah and how that ended up getting resolved. So there was some fear in them, and it's like, don't mess with them. Yeah. Don't mess with them.
Elohim was with them, nobody against them. And 35:11, when it says, and Elohim said to him, to Yaakov, I am El Shaddai. Be fruitful and increase. A nation and a company of nations shall be from you, and sovereigns come from your body. And the land which I gave to Abraham and Yitzchak, I give to you, and to your seed after you, I give this land. Which is a covenant, same covenant, and his
covenant language.
Covenant language.
Yeah, he was reaffirming that blessing from Abraham to Yitzhak and now to Yaakov again.
Right. And the last one that I had was, I don't know if you want to speak a little bit about Reuben going with Bilhah on 22. It doesn't say much. It only says that it came to be when Israel dwelt in the land that Reuben went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine. And then he says, and Israel heard about it, and then...
And that's all that's discussed. So why is that? Why does Scripture just all of a sudden jump in with something and then out with something? And is it to get our attention? Is there something going on there? Or is it a change in the story? We look at that, and the words in the Hebrew there in that verse are kind of fascinating. I encourage you to go take a look at them sometime, just the way they're laid out. And, the question is, and it came to be when Israel dwelt in that land that Reuben went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine. When you look at the words, it's you get a slightly different picture than what we're reading here in the English, and there's no way. I want to go about this cautiously because Rabbi El, I'm sure he'll correct me if I need it. But when you read from the sages, there's a lot of different concepts and ideas of, and there, as far as the East is from the West, in concept and understanding. again, this lay with, there's stories about moving beds and, Rachel's bed, and it went into, Bilhah's tent and, all this stuff. And Reuben was really upset about this bed being in his mother's servants' quarters from the other side of the equation from Rachel's tent. And, there's lots of conversation. So it's, when we have so little of the story, like you say, really, it's one verse. It pops in and it's gone. And what's the very next verse, right? Or the end of that. Now the sons of Yaakov were 12. Well, that includes Reuben. So what's going on here really? Can we really say for sure beyond a shadow of a doubt? I don't think we can. But it is here for a reason, but I don't think we have all the pieces to put the puzzle together. So I'm just going to leave it at that, and if Rabbi wants to add something to that, he sure can. Sound good?
Very
Excellent.
good, thank you. The last one I had was the last verse, which is, so Yitzchak breathed his last and died, and was gathered to his people, aged and satisfied of days, and his sons Esau and Yaakov buried him. I just love how he was aged and satisfied of days. He was blessed. He was a blessed man, but also his two sons were there to bury him. So at the end, they came back together.
Yeah,
they were
exactly.
wrestling in the womb, but then they came back together and they reconciled and buried him. That was really nice.
Yeah. It's a beautiful picture. So, what was Esau's intent coming at Yaakov? We don't know, but we do know how the story kind of closes out here, and that, granted, Esau, we know that the generations after him are going to be a real thorn and a problem, and, so on and so forth. But Esau himself, at this point, we see peace between him and Yaakov, at least for the sake of their father and the burial and showing the honor to their father, which is awesome. So it speaks, good of both of them in this instance. So. Ashley?
I know you guys touched on 35 too, but I couldn't hear what you guys were saying, so I'm hoping I'm not repeating a question that was already asked. But when Yaakov said to his household and to all who were there with him, put away the foreign mighty ones that are among with you, and cleanse yourself and change your garments. If he is so righteous, for lack of better words, why would he even, first of all, allow the idols in his house?
Well, there's a lot of people in his house and his household. There's many tents. There's many, dwelling places. There's servants. There's, field hands, shepherds, that are out tending the flocks. There's no way that he can, keep a good inspection of everything that's within. It's kind of like Rabbi Steve and Elder Billy for us, right? They're the head of our house, right? Our house, Beth Shalom. Well, what is in your house? What's in your house? What's in your house? They don't know. They have no idea what we're harboring or hiding or anything else, right? They're just going with the hope that we have cleaned all that garbage out, and that's why Rabbi gets up here every week and kind of hammers us sometimes, because we need it, and we need to clean that garbage out of our closet, right? Amen.
So just to if I may then, just to verify, these are separate tents then, or?
Yeah, there was each wife, Yaakov had, Rachel and Leah and, the other two wives, Bilhah and Zilpah. They all had separate tents. They didn't live together in one tent.
Okay.
And then Yaakov had his tent, so it's not like he shared, it's not like he lived in one of the tents with the four of them. They all had separate tents and moved around, and it doesn't mean that they were always right on top of each other. We see, I believe it was some of the conversation with Avraham and the fact that he moved around, right? When Sarah passed, he wasn't even there, right? He had to come back to the scene. So, they moved around and was in different areas depending on the animals, their business, the things that were going on in the area, the things they had to tend to. So there is no way for Yaakov to know exactly what everybody, that's kind of under his authority is harboring, behind closed tents.
Okay. And then my last comment with that then is the authority structure, the vertical structure with that. It's kind of a side comment, so forgive me on it, but it seems like for them to have that, they're disrespecting Yaakov, and not only disrespecting Yaakov, but obviously Yahweh. And if they're in different tents, I mean, my thing is, it's like, what's the point? Either you do the things that you're supposed to do, or you move on and go somewhere else.
Yeah, I understand your point, but a lot of things, now I'm not saying this specifically, but for us today, how many times do we go through Hag Hamatzot, and you think you got all the leaven out, and there's little leaven still in the house? And how many times have you been in a back room, or maybe you live in a house where you've been there for 40 years, long before you ever walked out Torah, and there's stuff hiding in that back closet that you had no idea it was ever there. And you're appalled when you find it. You can't believe that it's there, but you just didn't know. So, now granted, they knew about these things. But I'm just saying, they, right up here, they plundered all that was in the houses. They took the foreign gods, the idols. They brought all that in. And they're getting ready to go to Bethel. So, Yaakov is saying, clean up, shower, bathe. Let's get this, you got to fix all this, clean all this garbage out. Let's get right, because we're about to Aliyah, right? Amen. We talked about that last week, the different levels, and we see that here because he's literally telling them, to clean up, get rid of the garbage, to bathe themselves, to get ready, because we're about to go, to the house of El, or the future house of
El. Is there anything we can get out of? Is there any importance in Yaakov hides the idols, the mighty ones, underneath a terebinth tree, and then a few verses later we see Deborah being buried underneath a terebinth tree. Is there a significance to terebinth trees?
With the terebinth tree, there was a superstition that says that you can't dig anything up that's under. You would never dig under a terebinth tree like that when something's been buried. So it was a superstition, a tradition, whatever you want to call it, of their time and their day. You just wouldn't go there because it was no good. There was nothing good going to come from it. So when things are buried under a terebinth, it's basically like, leave it alone. You don't touch it. So. And that's why she was buried under a terebinth as well, because it was a grave site. Obviously, they're not going to dig that up anyways, or hopefully they're not. But what a great place to bury him, right? I mean, okay. Next question, sir. And then we'll jump over. Is there anything on live stream, Brian?
Yeah, I have two, and they're pretty much the same question.
Okay, excellent. We'll jump over there here in a minute.
I don't necessarily know if this is a question, but more maybe a statement. And I know you talked about it a little bit ago, but verse 22, how it talks about Reuben went in with Bilhah, his father's concubine. I notice it says concubine and not wife, which is interesting because if it was his wife, he'd be uncovering his father's nakedness.
But it is his wife.
It is his
back
wife.
Here.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I got reading this and I was kind of curious. So all this had just happened with his daughter and all his sons. Basically, they went in and killed all these people. He thought he had a bad name for himself. Then Elohim appears to him and says, no, be fruitful, multiply. Remember, I changed your name. Then right after this, he's about to have another son, and the wife that he worked for all this time dies. And now once again, one of his children goes in and does something just completely stupid, and next thing you know, it goes into his death. Like it just killed him. I mean, the things that your children can do, how hard it has on you. And that just made me think about that. It's, all this, then his wife dies that he worked all these years for, and then it states that little comment, like you had said, sometimes we don't know, it just pops in there, and then all of a sudden he dies. Mm-hmm. Just made me curious.
Yep. So what is your question specifically, or just none, just a statement? Okay, excellent. Yeah, because truthfully, there's just so little we have here to go on. I mean, I'm not going to pretend like I've got it figured out. I've got questions myself, but so just because we have no information to go on. So anyways, live stream, Brian.
Yeah, a question, actually two, from Rachel Crow and Melissa Kuntz regarding verse 18. Was Rachel's death time and chance, or was it related to Yaakov's declaration from chapter 31, verse 32? Basically, is it related to her stealing her father's images?
I guess Rabbi can correct me if he'd like. Personally, I believe there's a connection there, just because of Yaakov's, his words and what Rachel was doing. Can I prove that? Can I show you where? No, I can't. That's just my own personal opinion. Rabbi's stance on it, I guess I don't know for sure whether he feels that there's a direct connection, so maybe he'll need to answer that. But I can see the connection because of Yaakov's words and the severity of the situation and the covenant that was then put in place and agreed upon at that location. And then, we see as soon as she is done bearing children, obviously, the 12, all that Rachel was supposed to bear, then we see her death. So I think there is a connection there.
Okay, and then Rachel had kind of a follow-up question, like an if-type question. If related, does a husband or a father have the authority to curse to physical harm or death?
Our words are important. I'm not going to say that at this point in time that we can curse to physical death, but we can definitely bring implications, problems, situations, and everything else by the words we speak. We need to be careful. The words we speak. How many times do we ask, is that all you got? Is this it? Really? I was worried about that. And then it gets worse, doesn't it? We do need to be careful of just the things that we utter from our lips. I think we talked about that 3 weeks or so ago, about the words that we utter from our lips and the importance of them, and how we just so carelessly, today especially, but throughout all time, but today especially. There was questions a couple weeks ago about bowing before another man. There was reverence and honor, in that relationship. You didn't just walk into a room. You didn't just walk into another man's house. When you cross that threshold, of a door, when you go into a friend's house and you step on that threshold and stand there, it's a threat to that household. Everything that we do, everything that we say, there's implications for it. We need to take it serious, what comes off our lips, because it has huge effects on other people. It might not be direct curses, or causing a specific situation, but there's a result that happens because of the things that we utter from our lips. So, Amen? Okay. Any other questions, Brian? Okay, it's awful quiet on there. Ask them why, I'm curious. What's that? Brian, can you just ask that question one more time? We had a one that didn't hear the question, but they heard the answer and they wanted the question specifically. Sorry about that.
The last question I asked, the follow-up question.
Yeah.
Basically, is it possible for a husband or a father to curse unto physical harm or death?
Okay, thank you. I'm a leaky vessel, so, when you tell me something, I answer it, and then, mine's moving on. So, anyways, yes, please, Krista.
Oh, yeah, Krista. But my question is verse 18, that she called his name Ben-Oni.
Can you put the mic up? Yep, thank you.
Yep, that she called his name Ben-Oni, but the father called him Benjamin. Is there, knowing the importance of names in this culture, Do you know what the difference is?
Yeah, Benoni or Benoni is son of my sorrow because of the situation that was coming into her life and the fact that she was dying during this child's birth. So, she basically spoke that, but then Yaakov come along and changed the name to Benjamin, which is son of my right hand. So there's definitely implications to the names and reason behind them. So thank you. Any other questions in 35? Live stream or here? Nope, good. Okay, well, we'll jump into 36 and there's a lot of genealogy here. We could pull a few questions maybe from this, but if it's a genealogical question about this one or that one, I don't have the answers, honestly. I have not studied it out. It's really not going to change my place and time or circumstance or my walk or journey. So you'll have to forgive me and talk to Rabbi about that. But you can throw it at me, and if I have anything on it, I'll share it with you, but don't expect much. Okay, so 36, any questions? Is there anything on live stream, Brian, just for grins?
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay. Are you guys good then on 36? Okay. I could share some Talmudic thought with you, but I don't know. I think we'll skip that for now. We'll let Rabbi share that with you. Okay. All right. Well, I guess if that's it, let me run through my notes here and just see if there's anything we missed that I might want to bring out.
I might have some here.
You got something? Share with us.
It talked about how Esau left and took all of his belongings, how they separated. So is that indicating something, how they split as brothers, or is there just not, there was just too many people for where they were and they had to part?
Yeah, there was too many people in that area. It was mostly about the livestock and the room and the grazing ground and so on and so forth. But again, as I shared a little bit earlier, it was awesome to see the respect that Esau had and how he moved out of the area. As ugly as it was at times between the two brothers, Esau picked up and moved over and got away from that so that there was room where I really think he knew his brother belonged. So, great picture there. I think we're pretty good. One last call, and then we'll probably call it. Okay, well, let's get somebody to close us out in prayer. And okay, Justin. Thought he had a question for a minute, but he already had his hand up. That's what I like to see. Already had his hand up.
Father Yahweh, we just thank you and praise you for this wonderful portion, for the insight and teaching and instruction that you have given us. We ask, Father, that you just help this in our daily walk, that you help us to apply it to our lives, that you help us to glean whatever it is that you have for each of us individually. And we just thank you and praise you for our body, our teachers, and our leadership. In the name and authority of Yeshua HaMashiach. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Okay. Thank you, sir. Okay, if you guys want to come up front here, we'll get ready for a big wave goodbye.
A lot more relaxed.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Especially on the part where you thought
On the announcements.
Yeah, it flowed a lot better.
Yeah, it did. Got a pretty good show tonight. It's good to see. Okay, I'm going to count to 3 as we get ready here. And on 3, then we're going to say, Laila Tov, Shavua Tov, and we love you. So can we crowd in? It looks like we still have a lot of people outside. What's that? Oh, they're going to pan out. Okay. All right, we'll go. 1, 2, 3.